Yeah. Hi, this is Ritik, your biology subject matter expert from MEMONEET. Today in this video, we will be concentrating on the my very important chapter that is microbes and the human welfare. So, what are the things that we are going to concentrate in this video is the microbes and the household products. That is how microbes are beneficial with regard or with respect to the household products. So, beside macroscopic, it could be like plants or animals, right? Plants or even it could be animals. So they're macroscopic in nature. That means we can see them through naked eye. There are even organisms which cannot be seen through the naked eye. We normally call those organisms as microorganisms, and they are the major components of all the biological, system on this earth. That is plants, animals, and microorganisms. So one thing is we have studied the system of classification, like in the system of classification, we have also gone through that there are also in under the system of classification, we know that there are also they contain microorganisms. So microorganisms are nothing but the one which cannot be seen through our naked eye, which is microscopic in nature. So only way of observing them is under the microscope. So there are basically situated everywhere where even we cannot imagine that life could ever exist. For example, microbes, they have been present everywhere in the soil. They have been found in water, air, also inside our body, that of other animals as well as plants. So inside our body means in the gut region, intestine region, and all, you will find this microorganisms. So microorganisms could be both, harmful as well as beneficial here. So harmful in sense, what happens is microorganisms are pathogenic in nature, where they normally causes disease or some infections to the living organisms. So, but there are even certain microorganisms, they play a beneficial role to the human beings or animals and even environment. Say like in gut microbiology, like some of the organisms they present inside our intestine helps in the digestion, helps in the absorption of the food, and also they protect our gut from other pathogenic organisms sometimes. So in this way. And another way is like helps in degradation, then helps in purification, helps in food making, and some of the organisms are also used as antibiotics. For that production also we do use. So that means even though there is harmful thing from this microorganism, but there are also beneficial things that should be considered with regards to the microorganisms. Microorganisms, they are also present even in a site where no other life uh, could ever be possible. Say like they are basically present in deep soil, or you can also say like, yeah, so they are present in deep inside the thermal vents is nothing. Greasers is nothing but the thermal ventils. So where high temperature is more. So where the temperature may be 1,000 degrees Celsius near volcano and all. So obviously you can't imagine at that high temperature, is there a possibility of any living organisms? No, right? But even at that condition, harsh condition also, we can see the presence of certain microorganisms which normally live at that condition. And even deep inside the soil, under the layer of snow, several metric thickness. That means if it is a snow, right? So obviously under there will be high temperature, but even in that region also, you are going to see certain microorganisms. And at high acidic environment where you can't, obviously high acidic environment, if it is high acidic environment, it leads to irritation, hitching and all. So even at that harsh condition also, certain microorganisms, they do exist. Yeah. So microbes, one thing is clear, they're diverse. Okay, diverse in sense, microbes are many variety of microorganisms you are going to see. One is like protozoans, then bacteria, fungi, microscopic animals, and plant viruses. That means the virus which normally affects the plant. Then we have viroids here and also prions. Prions are nothing but they are the proteinaceous infectious agents, right? So they are considered to be a proteinaceous infectious agents. So now let us understand that in respect to the household products. How? One thing is there is an organism name called as lactobacillus. So it is an organism uh, we are seeing here. Sorry. Yeah. So whatever you are seeing here, they're lactobacillus organism, right? So it is also called as lactic acid bacteria, in short form LAB. So which normally grows in milk and converts the milk into the curd. And during their growth, they are going to produce acids that is going to coagulate and partially digest the milk protein. So very important. Partially, it is going to digest the milk proteins. So how this all process happens is, if you take a small amount of curd, we normally call them as inoculum. If you take any small amount of curd or an organism and you are going to, inoculate it, or you are going to transfer it into some big media, we normally call that where you have taken a small amount is actually called as inoculum. Okay. So a small amount of curd is added to a fresh milk. So that is called as inoculum. Or so here this inoculum, will be containing millions of lactic acid bacteria. So at suitable temperature, what it does is we know that the bacteria multiply rapidly when there is a suitable environmental condition. So at the suitable environmental conditions, say like a proper temperature, when they are having good nutrients and all, they multiply rapidly. Thus, during multiplication, what I told, they are going to utilize the right. They are going to utilize whatever the content that so that means that during their growth and all, they're also going to produce an acids, lactic acid, and partially it is going to digest the milk protein. That is what I have said. So this thing is going to happen here. So that's it is in that way where it is partially digesting the milk proteins. So that will turns the milk to what? Curd. So now this curd, it has high nutritional value. That is what we believe, and it is what we know because curd is very rich in the vitamin B12. Okay, so now that means it has high nutritional value. So this is one point in which this bacteria is showing a very important. It is playing its very important role in the production of curd from the milk. The next is in stomach too, like this lactic acid bacteria. Once it gets into the stomach, there also it has a very important role to play. That means it is beneficial role in checking disease causing microorganism. I play a very beneficial role in where checking the disease causing microorganism. Okay. And very important thing is like, see, the what do you say that doubt, which we normally doubt is nothing but it is from which we are going to make idli or dosa. So right, idli or dosa, which is actually a South Indian famous food. So for that also we require this bacteria because it plays a very important role in the fermentation process. Okay. So that the fluffy thing that appears, for the doubt is due to the production of the carbon dioxide gas. Because of that itself, the fluffy thing will come. That means in general, if you see dosa, okay, yeah. So if you see the dosa here, this imagine this is a dosa. You are seeing a tiny holes, right? So this is because of the production of carbon dioxide. You are seeing the fluffiness, and this is because of fermentation. And fermentation is because of what? Bacteria. Right. We'll go to the next part then. There are still many applications. Say like, um, see when I'm talking now, you need to answer me which metabolic pathway is taking place, resulting in the formation of carbon dioxide fermentation process, right? So in similarly when you're preparing the bread also you might have seen that holes, a gap, so that is also because of the fermentation itself. Here that is fermentation is caused because by the or they have been fermented using what, baker's yeast. So what is baker's is famously Saccharomyces cerevisiae is actually called as baker's yeast, very important. Then, a numerous traditional drinks, food, they are also made by the fermentation with the help of the microorganisms. Say like the toddy, which is a traditional drink in some part of the South India, is actually made by the fermenting sap from the palm tree. And they're also used in ferment fish, soya beans, and bamboo shoots to make food. This is very important. So, one thing is cheese is one of the oldest food items that everybody is well familiar of, which is also in which for that preparation also we do use the microorganisms. So here different varieties of cheese are known by their characteristics, what kind of microorganisms we are using. For example, if you are seeing a large holes in a cheese, that is especially in the Swiss cheese, they are due to the production of large number of carbon dioxide and the bacteria which is responsible to this as propionic bacterium shermini. Then if you are going with Roquefort cheese, they're ripened by the growing of what specific fungi on them, which give them that particular flavor. Clear? Then the microorganisms are also used in the industrial products. Say like in beverage industry, antibacteria medicinal paramedical industries that have been used. Like in production of some beverages or antibiotics are some of the example. So when I'm talking about that in industry, we want it in a large scale. So growing microorganism in very large vessels, they are called as fermenters. So in industry, we will be concentrating on the large scale production. So that means we have to grow the microorganisms in a large vessels. So they are called as fermenters. Yeah. So fermented beveraging microbes, especially you will be utilizing yeast here, which have been used for the time. That means we normally use yeast, which have been used for time immemorial for the production of the beverages. Like we have wine here, beer, whiskey, brandy, or rum. So these are the types of drinks, right? So for this purpose, the same yeast that is Saccharomyces cerevisiae is the yeast which is used for bread making and commonly called as brewer's yeast, right? Is used for the fermenting malted cereals and fruit juice to produce the ethanol. Depending on the type of the raw materials like fruits or cereals. Okay. So materials used for the fermentation and the type of what kind of processing, whether you are doing it without a distillation or with the distillation. So that differs the type of alcoholic drinks that is what we are getting or obtain. So wine and beer are produced without a distillation. So very important. Wine and beer are produced without a distillation, whereas whiskey, brandy, and rum they are produced by distillation of the fermented broth. The next one we have is antibiotics. Antibiotics are very famous, right? because here anti is nothing but which is against, biotics is nothing but living organism. So when I'm talking about antibiotics here, together when we bring it, contracts, they're against disease causing organisms. That refers purely they're against disease causing organisms, not human beings. Okay. So they are against disease causing organisms, not us. So antibiotics are the chemical substances which are produced by some microbes, and now they can kill or retard the growth of other disease causing microbes. So Alexander Fleming, who is very famous and well-known scientist, worked on one specific organism, that is Staphylococcus bacteria. While working on this specific point, he observed a mold growing in one of his unwashed culture plate. What he observed? He observed a mold growing in one of his unwashed culture plate. So around with, see, like if this is a cultured plate, okay. So he observed a kind of mold which was growing in unwashed culture plate. Sorry. Yeah. So this is the organisms. Okay. In the culture plate, organism is grown. Now, what is happening here? Like, what did he observe as? So, surrounding, there was a zone of inhibition. So, at around this zone, he did not observe any growth of microorganisms. Okay. So, he observed only he in the entire plate, he could see the growth of that specific organism. But from where this was grown, right? So there he did not observe any growth of organism. That means this specific thing was actually resisting the growth, okay, in that unwanted or unwashed culture plate, where around this staphylococci could not grow. If this brown color is actually the staphylococci bacteria, so in this mold, he could observe that there is no specific growth of the staphylococci around it. He found out that it was due to a chemical produced by the mold, and he named that chemical as the penicillin. So this blue color, I can name it as penicillin. Okay. So it was a chemical which is actually resisting the growth of this staphylococci bacteria. And later on, he named that mold as Penicillium notatum. Okay, Penicillium notatum was what he named. However, its full potential as an effective antibiotic was still need to be studied, and that was later explored by Enrist Chain and Flory. So during then they have also worked. So that was being used as a treatment for the American soldiers for wound healing during the World War II, and they were being awarded Nobel Prize for their discovery, their work, and all in 1945. The next part we are going to explore is the chemicals, enzymes, and other bioactive molecules from the microorganisms. Yeah. So if we see an acid producers as Aspergillus niger, which is actually a fungi, it produces what? Acetic acid. Then Acetobacteria acetic. So it is a bacteria which normally produce the acetic acid. Clostridium butylex. So which is a bacteria which normally produces a butyric acid. Then lactobacillus is a bacteria which produces a lactic acid. Saccharomyces cerevisiae is a yeast which is used for the commercial production of the ethanol. This is very important. They can ask you in the match the following type. Microbes are also being used for the production of enzymes, like lipase are used in detergents here, right? Formulation, and are helped in removal of the oil stains from the laundry. So, and if you have noticed a bottle juice, from the market, it is very clear when compared to the juice which is made in the home. This is because, we normally use the pectinase and protease in the bottles and all. Then streptokinase, which is actually produced by the bacteria, streptokinase produced by the bacteria, that is streptococcus, and they're genetically modified using genetic engineering as a clot buster for removing the clot from the blood vessels of patients who have undergone myocardial infections leading to heart attack. Okay. Next, another bioactive molecules that is which has been used as a immunosuppressive agent in the organ transplant patients, that is cycloprost, which is actually produced by the fungi, that is Trichoderma polysporum. Then one of the another thing is statinus, which is actually produced by the yeast. They are also being used commercially for the blood cholesterol lowering agent. It acts by the competitively inhibiting the enzyme which is responsible for the synthesis of what? Cholesterol. So still many applications are there with respect to the enzymes or chemicals which has been extracted from the microorganisms. So this is all about how microorganisms have been used in household, then they have been used in the production of some alcohols or food, then its application in industries, its applications in production of antibiotics, and some of the enzymes of chemicals which have been extracted from this bacteria and their application. So this is all about the applications of the microorganisms. In the next video, we will also be concentrating on their applications in sewage treatment. Like still now, if you feel any doubt, you can reach me out through the comment section or through the Telegram channel. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment whatever you feel. Thank you.